everyone, welcome back to Alice and the Giant Bookshelf. In today's video I'm going to be talking about my top 10 favourite books I've read since I've been on Booktube. It's my Booktube birthday. Hi everyone, welcome to my brand new Booktube channel, Alice and the Giant Bookshelf. I'm Alice, I've got way too many books, and this is going to be a video all about my TBR for May and the 1900 to 1950 readathon. Oh, and I've got a lovely big pile of books for it. Hi everyone, your YouTube hasn't broken. That was me from 3 years ago. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. My name's Alice and I have way too many books, and this day 3 years ago I took the plunge and uploaded my first ever YouTube video to this channel. As you can see, my first video, surprise surprise, was a TBR. I have watched back that video today, and apart from cringing a bit, I definitely think that it includes so many things that I think I mention in videos on a regular basis. It had Agatha Christie, it had Harry, it had just way too many books as always. But astonishingly, it was actually a TBR where I read all but one of the books that I showed, so that was pretty impressive and a good start to Booktube. In the past 3 years of Booktube, I have read a lot of books. I sat down this morning and worked out how many books have I read since that first video on the 29th of April 2021, and the answer was 494 books, which I am quite shocked about. I've taken off the books I read before the 29th of April that year, but I have left in 2 books that I think I was currently reading at the time of making that video and that I did finish following that video. Yeah, that's a lot of books, and if I had have read all of those from the Giant TBR, then there would be no more Giant TBR, but of course that hasn't happened. If you've been following me for any length of time, you will know I continually struggle with my Giant TBR and with numbers going up instead of down. But when I set out on this crazy Booktube journey, my goal and one of the main themes of my channel, one of the main reasons for starting it, was to keep myself honest and to keep track of the Giant TBR and make sure that I did actually read books from my shelves. It's been a mixed bag as to how that has gone. I have loved 3 years on Booktube, and I thought today I would celebrate by making a top 10 of the books that I have read on Booktube. So of those 494 books, which were the absolute best. And looking back on it, I actually didn't really want to count any of my books from this year. I have had 5-star reads this year, but I just don't think that they have been forever favourites like these 10 books have turned out to be. And it was interesting to me to watch back not only that first video, but to watch back my top 10s of the year for each of the 3 years that I have made those, and to see whether those books have remained favourites. So some have, some haven't, and this is going to be my absolute top 10, and I'll let you know where they charted in the year that I read them. Should we take a look and see the books? First up, in at number 10, is a book that I read in 2022, and this first appeared as number 2 in my list of favourites from 2022, and that is Fight Night by Miriam Taves. I think looking back on this is a pretty quiet book and there isn't huge amounts happening in it, but sometimes I do just love that sort of book, and this was such a good surprise to me. It's reached this top 10 and remained in such a high position in my eyes and become a forever favourite because of the characters. That won't be the case for all of these books, but Yes, the characters of Grandma and our main protagonist, Swiv, in this book just absolutely stole my heart, made me laugh, and I still think about this book sometimes now. Really, really very fond of this one. Now, in at number 9, we have a book that actually only charted at number 4 the year that I read it, and has only gone up in my estimation over time. And I read this one in 2001. It was one of my earliest buddy reads, and it was The Art of Racing in the Rain by Garth Stein. The narrator in this one, Enzo, the dog, absolutely has my heart, and this book absolutely broke my heart into a million trillion pieces. And this is the kind of book where I actually cried multiple times in this book, not just at the ending, so proceed with caution, but a really, really great book in my eyes, and definitely a favourite of all time. In at number 8 is the only book on this list that I have somehow not yet acquired a physical copy of, and that is Getting Better by Michael Rosen. This is the first non-fiction book on this list, but not the last, and this charted at number 3 in 2023. This book moved me in a different way to most of these books, because this is Michael Rosen's sort of memoir about really, really difficult things that have happened to him in his life, and how he has been getting better from them, or tries to get better from them. This just absolutely emotionally was a really, really difficult read, but at the same time I just find Michael Rosen to be so engaging, and I had never related so hard to some of his things that he said about hospital. So absolutely adore that book, and I probably will get a physical copy of it, but I do have this one on audio, and it was read by Michael Rosen, and that was wonderful. In at number 7 is a favourite from 2022. There was a lot of competition in 2022 for the top spot, and this actually only charted at number 4, and it has only grown in my estimation over time, and I would consider this definitely a favourite of all time, mainly because this is a rare example of a book that I consider to be the right length at over 600 pages, and that's because not a single detail goes to waste in this wonderful book, and that is Maggie Shipstead's Great Circle. I did originally listen to this one on audio, but I have acquired a copy of it, of course, and it was a book that I read because it was listed for the Women's Prize for Fiction, and I was not disappointed. I really think that this should have won the prize in 2022. Alas, it did not, but it's going to be a long time favourite for me, I think. This one is not like any of the other books on the list. It's a sweeping epic, it's historical. It follows Marion Graves, who is attempting to complete a great circle all the way round the world in a plane. And we also have a present day timeline where she is about to be portrayed in a film by an actress called Hadley. I absolutely adore Great Circle. Next up we have my number 3 from 2022, and that was Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell. I think that this book is so well known that I hardly think that I need to go into it very much, but this is a book about Shakespeare's wife and his son Hamnet, and Maggie O'Farrell's imagining of their lives mainly, but also Hamlet's tragic death. This is heartbreaking, and it's also a book that I feel differently about to anything else I've ever read. I really felt like I was living an experience in this book. It was so vivid, and I just don't know what Maggie O'Farrell did here to make this book just such an experience for me, but she did. And yeah, this famously won the Women's Prize for Fiction in 2020, and I didn't read it for that. I just read it because I really liked Maggie O'Farrell already, but definitely a favourite of all time, and I absolutely think that this is just one of those books that is on another level. In at number 5 we have an entry from 2021, and this came in at number 2, and it's the second non-fiction on the list, and it is of course a book about books. This is Bookworm by Lucy Mangan. It's a memoir of childhood reading. I absolutely love memoirs of childhood reading, and yeah, my only complaint about this is that it made me want to read far too many other books. So yeah, books about books do tend to lead me down rabbit holes, but very, very soft spot for this one. If I was doing a top 10 non-fiction of all time, this would definitely appear a fabulous read. In at number 4 is a book from last year's top 10. As I was reading this, I had the feeling it would be a forever favourite, and that is The 13th Tale by Diane Setterfield. This is the only entry on this list for a book that I've read for FOMO Bookclub, which is the book club that I host with Jack from Spread Bookjoy and Gemma from Gemma Books. So I'm glad that there is a book from that on here. Easily a position could have gone on this list to Goodnight Mr. Tom by Michelle Magorian, because that is a wonderful, wonderful book as well. But this one just did so many things that really, really appealed to me. It had authors, it had like creepy old houses, it had drama, it was just all about storytelling as well. It ticked a lot of boxes for me. I think that this is a brilliant, brilliant read that I will keep thinking about for a long time. If you've been here with me on my channel for any time since last year, I think you're going to be a bit surprised by the next entry, and that is because in at number 3, and I did just put these in order of preference on the day, I mean they could switch around, but this is where I've put this book, and feel free to comment with surprise. So in at number 3 is Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver, my favourite book of 2023. I've talked about this book so much on my channel and I've loved it so much. It won the Pulitzer Prize and the Women's Prize last year, deservedly so, and I think that this is a book that is on a completely different level of books. This is storytelling at its very best. This is the best use of the narrator's voice that I have ever read, and I just love it. I love the inspiration for this book, which is David Copperfield by Charles Dickens, and I love this new incarnation of it set in the Appalachian Mountains and dealing with the opioid crisis in America. Just wonderful, and it has taken 2 very, very special books in my heart to beat this one. It's extremely close between the top 3 because the top 3 are of course my top book from each year. In terms of how I still feel about the books, this is very narrowly in position number 3. And in second place, and probably to the surprise of no one, is Cloud Cuckoo Land by Anthony Dewar, my top book of 2022. I came across this and read it because of the Booktube prize, and unlike Demon Copperhead, this is not one that I see very much on Booktube, and I would love to see it more. I don't think that it's a book that maybe appeals to everybody, because a lot of the people I think I've recommended it to and caused to read didn't love it as much as I did, but I absolutely adore this book. Again, it is a book that has an element of storytelling, and there is a book, a lost text, that ties together all 3 of the timelines in this book, and I just do absolutely love like books within books. The ancient text in this book is so important in all 3 storylines, one of which is set in the future, one of which is set round about now, and one of which is set a long time in the past at the 1453 Siege of Constantinople. I just thought that this book was so clever and so imaginative, and I just loved it. And it's a very, very special book that is in at number 1 because I really do love those 2 books so much. You see them displayed on my shelf since I read them, so yeah, this next book is really, really special to me, and that is Dear Reader, The Comfort and Joy of Books by Cathy Rentzenbrink. Completing the list with a non-fiction and with my favourite book of 2021, and still my favourite that I've read in the past 3 years on Booktube. And this is, of course, a book about books. It's a memoir from Cathy Rentzenbrink as well as that. And it sort of follows different times in Cathy Rentzenbrink's life and what books have meant to her at those various different times, both in terms of working with books, but childhood as well, and which books got her through which different times. There are also lists of books in this, interspersed, which I absolutely loved. In terms of non-fiction, this book absolutely has my heart, and it was so hard to compare it to Cloud Cuckoo Land and Demon Copperhead, which are wonderful, wonderful works of fiction. But yes, this book related memoir tops the charts. So that is my top 10 list of books that I've read since being on Booktube. If you are new here, it's very nice to see you. I hope this video has given you a flavour of what type of books I really, really like. I really hope that the next 3 years bring some more reads just as good as these ones. Thanks for watching today. If you have enjoyed this video, I would love it if you gave it a like and considered subscribing if you haven't already. Thanks for being here, whatever length of time you have been watching. I'm very, very grateful that you all come here and listen to me rambling about books, because I love rambling about books, and I will hope to see you all again very soon for another video all about books here on Alice and the Giant Bookshelf. Bye for now.